Hello everyone. Today I'd like to talk to you about the evolution of the enterprise application. When I think about this topic, I and my friend Max Anderson kind of drew up this background picture of the volcano. I kind of think of the application over the past 30 years as like a lava flow coming out of a volcano. The application started on the mainframe, kind of heated up, and parts of it started flowing out toward the end user over 30 years and kind of disaggregated the application, almost like water seeking out its level, seeking out the most economic place for it to run. Back in the 80s, we can see the application, which, again, for the sake of simplicity, I narrowed down to display logic, control logic, business logic, and data, ran in a pretty concise form on a very concise platform with well understood programming models, well understood administrative methods, optimization techniques. Again, everything's consolidated, including the skills that are required to build and manage and optimize applications. Well, over time, most likely for economic reasons, the application, again, started flowing out of the mainframe. The control logic and the data logic in the 90s moved off to a lower cost PC, creating client server. And with the client server, the control logic and display logic were typically implemented in a different way with a more, let's say, purposed programming model. Along with that disaggregation of the control logic and the display logic, new constructs had to be added, for example, to manage the connections between the clients and the server. So the disaggregation necessarily wasn't free. There was some economics about running it on a lower cost PC, but you needed to now worrying about these varieties of distributed clients. But again, that was easily managed. Back in the mid-90s, the web tier was introduced and kind of standardized this kind of middle tier around HTML and HTTP for display logic and control logic. The PC was kind of there pretty much for browsing. The web server also acted for the application as a concentrator of requests back to the data source, so acted as a connection pool device. So a little early signs of application serving. Again, the application moved off, and by moving off, there was a new programming model, again, for display, HTTP, standardized, HTML, and also the side effect of the disaggregation was new constructs like connection pooling that were introduced to manage the disaggregation. And this continued, late 90s, early 2000s, when the application servers came out. Again, good day for us in WebSphere land. But even more aggressively, the lava was flowing out and moved things off, like the business logic components and also some data back from the data source was kind of cached and lived within the application server. Things like Java Enterprise Edition were introduced as a programming model and management model around the application servers. Again, Apache web servers are still very popular, and we're still popular there. And the browser picked up even richer functions. So you can see these tiers introduced that are more specialized at executing different aspects of that application that all used to run in one concise place. Again, the disaggregation led to some new additions. Cluster management of the application servers were one of the things. Managing security of these various disparate servers, and the like. And here we are today in the 2000 timeframe, where now, let's say, the lava flow is pretty close to being complete. We have control logic and display logic running in a very rich form on the browser using Ajax and JavaScript and things like that. We have intelligent edge servers that have application delivery logic for load balancing, spraying, also doing various levels of security management out at the edge. We still have our Apache plugins running, and we have our applications. So many tiers now. The disaggregation is near complete, moving more and more of these specialized compute tiers, each having their own programming model, each having their own administrative model, and also techniques for optimization across these models, while a bit challenging, are starting to become understood. And this is kind of where the story, I think, hits a high note. And from a provider here of application services, I have to think back and say, is life better now in 2009? Well, it's certainly different. There's many more tiers. There's many more, let's say, purpose-built programming models and platforms for hosting the various aspects of the application. But I would guess if you ask any ops person or any user whether they really know where their application is running, they probably say no because it's running all over the place, bits and pieces of it. So I think there's an opportunity, and certainly in IBM and in WebSphere land, we're very eager to help provide solutions across this opportunity to almost logically re-aggregate the application. And I would never suggest we physically re-aggregate it, but certainly logically re-aggregated. Everything from, back in the application server cluster to use virtualization to help virtualize the application and allow management of it to be, let's say, similar to just managing one while you may be managing multiple by using virtualization. And especially as we move information out or parts of the application out toward the edge and ultimately the last mile to the end user to start adding intelligence, especially in the demilitarized zone. Because one of the things that happens as the application flows from the back end, in the trusted zone out to the demilitarized zone, actually out to the user, is the data and the application logic components become less potent. They actually lose memory of where they were and the context that they were running in when they were running back in application space. And because of that, there's a lot of manual reconstitution of this information that has to occur by the administrators, by the ops folks, leading to some of the specialty around managing and optimizing an end-to-end application. And again, I think we can give the customer this back, this kind of these control points that allow you to manage an application almost if it were a single logical entity. So that's the challenge. We've seen the evolution. I think life is good from an economics perspective. It's sought at its level. I think it's a little bit more complex because we have multiple tiers, but there's this opportunity to kind of re-aggregate the application. And virtualization, intelligent edge serving, all of these things start to play into that process. More on this later. Thanks for listening. Bye.